Okay, so I don't see anybody in the chat room right now. Again, we are recording it so that we can provide it to everybody. So regardless of the amount of people that attend today, we want to have this for our records. So first of all, good evening from Stephanie and myself, and we're glad that you were able to join us. One of the things that we like to do is to make sure that we're communicating with parents the best way possible. I know that I speak to a lot of other parents that go to other schools, and their biggest complaint is the lack of communication, that there's nobody to talk to, and they don't get notices, they don't have class dojo. And so we love that about our school. But one of our biggest things that when I tour a family, their first question to me is always security. What is your security? How secure is your school? How do I know my child will be safe there? And the funny thing is that we lay all those things out, and then our parents are our biggest challenge because they're the ones that are being unsafe. And so that was kind of part of how this all started. I do want to just talk through a couple of the policies, and doesn't mean it applies to you or anybody in particular, but again, hopefully that those that are watching it will take notice to it, and will, work with us in keeping the center safe. And so we do have the gates on the property, so we ask that parents come in the gates, but they close them behind them. I've watched over the past week the window how many parents are coming in and leaving the gates open and then walking in and out of the gate. They don't close it. There's two gates on the property, and that is so when people park in the parking lot, they're able to have their child by the hand and go through the tall gate as well as the small gate, but closing them behind them. We're grateful that some of these parents have children that are mindful, but there's nothing like when you get a new child that's a runner or doesn't listen, and they take off ahead of you and you're yelling and you can't run as fast as them, and they could be out in the parking lot before you even get to them. I've seen people that let their kids climb the gates, open the gates. And one of the policies we have here is that children never open doors or gates, only adults. And that helps keep us safe internally in the center. As we're moving room to room, children aren't opening the door. They're not mindful of what's behind the door or who's behind the door. So the gates have become a security issue for us. So we just keep trying to remind people to please close the gates behind them. But also the same thing with the front door. Everybody has received a door code that is unique to your class. However, they're either not using the door, waiting for somebody else to let them in, or they're sending someone for pickup who doesn't have a door code. For us, if you don't have a door code, then you don't belong in the center. And so sometimes people are standing outside waving to through the window, but we assume you've been authorized to pick up, that you've made arrangements with a parent, and that somebody is able to get inside. So sharing the door code with somebody who's going to be picking up is super important so that they can get into the center and that we can welcome them when they come in. But also for the kids are not supposed to be keying into the door. So we're finding that we're seeing students who were given the code by their parents and that the child is keying into the door code, which is not something that we want to encourage with them. We want the parent to key in and safely walk their child into the center. Part of coming into the center is also signing in. There is the code on the outside of the door before you even come into the center, and then another one in the foyer. And the idea is to make it easy for parents to come and sign in and sign out. And we just say, don't ever go past that half door and come all the way into the building until your child is successfully signed in. There's a few reasons. One, signing into Brightwheel notifies the entire school, all of the staff, that that child is now in the building and now in their supervision, that they are now technically responsible for them at 8:07 when the child is signed in. That means they were brought directly to an adult, and that someone has taken them from them and that they are now in our supervision. Several times we'll see that a child has not been signed in. This is probably the biggest violation of childcare licensing. It means that a child is not accounted for, which is huge. It means that the child was left somewhere other than with a staff member, it changes our ratio. It doesn't allow us to see in the classrooms how many students we have that day in attendance. And as we're preparing snacks and activities and buddying up as teams and maybe an activity that we're doing, we're looking at Bright Wheel constantly to see how many children are in the center as we do this. It's lunch counts, it's snack counts, it's cups, it's everything that we're doing all day long. So finding that a child is not signed into the center is a huge inconvenience for us, but we're also very mindful of what childcare licensing says, and we want to follow all those rules. But we also want you to be aware that we're looking for your child to be signed into the center. So signing in and signing out, same thing. If you leave and you don't sign your child out, they're still being accounted for with us. We don't have a lot of things that happen, but I will tell you in the 24 years that I've been here, we've had children that have gotten hurt after they've left here. Where the parent has said they were hurt here, but they were technically not signed out of our center at the proper time. Maybe that they were in an accident outside of here, that somebody else picked their child up. They don't know what time. Someone dropped them off. They don't know what time. So it's definitely record keeping, but it's licensing's protocol for them to be signed in and out. So we do try to ask you, don't go past that half door until you've actually signed your child in and that you've signed them out. Same thing when we pick up. If the children are out on the playground, we ask that you don't take them off the playground, that you come in, that you sign them out, and then you can retrieve your child from us. Do you have anything to add about the sign in, sign out?
If you're having an issue signing in and out, we do have a tablet. And if you can't get the tablet, me or Miss Cher, we have the kiosk on us. So we are the only ones who have the kiosk option. The other teachers cannot open that feature. It's only admin, which happens to be me and Miss Cher. But there is a tablet, and we are another option. And just in case your phone is dead or the app is not working that day, because there are days the app does not work at all for any parents, and so I have to put it up, and it's quick and easy.
And so with Bright Wheel, one of the things that Bright Wheel does is it allows you to separate who's picking up and dropping off the child, and they're the ones that we are releasing to or taking the child from. So for instance, when people are sending someone to pick their child up, they should be added to the authorized pickup list in Bright Wheel. If it's not someone that's coming more than once or twice, it's you have an emergency, or on this day grandma's in town or something like that, and you just want them to pick up for that day, and you don't want them to have the app and have to download everything, that's okay. You would just message us and let us know who are we looking for, and make sure that person has an ID so that we can verify they are who they are. We don't want to ever send your child out with somebody who's not authorized. But what happens is that people are sending someone and they're giving them their code, and that code is connected to you. So let's just say, for instance, Daniel's mom, you send Mary Smith to come pick your child up, and she has your code. And so when she comes in, she puts your code into Bright Wheel. That legally says that Maria picked up Daniel at 4:02 p.m. And if anything was to ever happen to him, we would be responsible because Maria did not pick him up and take him from our care. Mary Smith did. And Mary Smith needs to be the one that is on the sign out that says she physically took that child from us. A lot of times, like I said, they're coming in and they're keying in somebody else's code that mom or dad picked up, and it was the other person. Again, not until something happens is that a problem. We have children that live in separate homes. We have divorced families. We have families that have court orders. We have families that are only to be with certain parents on certain days. And so that is a legal document that says Mary Smith picked up at 4:06, not Cheryl Russello picked up at 2:43. That's not who took your child. Mary Smith took your child. And that's how we're going to verify that who we're giving your child to is the right person. And if there's ever a problem, you could always call or message, and surely we could work through that. But when they're just keying in somebody else, it's really a legal issue that that's not who picked up and dropped off. So if it's somebody you want to be able to come on a regular basis without having to verify, then you're going to put them in as a contact, as an authorized pickup, and they're going to get their own key and code. And it's going to say Mary Smith is the one that was authorized to pick up, and that's going to match everything we have. That way, we never give your child to the wrong person. We also have people that send people who may be your friend right now, maybe your boyfriend right now, and then 8 months down the road, they are no longer your friend or no longer your boyfriend, and they show up and key in and take your kid out. There's nothing that says they can't, because if you don't remove them and they have the key in code, they're going to go in. And we have authority to say, nope, they were on the pickup list. So we really need to be careful with who's authorized to pick up, and that they're using their key in code, not somebody else. And with keying in and keying out on Brightwheel, school readiness and VPK have a specific policy that you cannot allow someone else to sign out your child that's not on your authorization. So sometimes people won't sign in and you'll see my name on there because I obviously want to sign your child in so that I can take supervision of them legally. But then when I go turn in the attendance sheets at the end of the month, I'm penalized because Cheryl Russello cannot sign the child in and out. The parent, it can be the only one that's on those attendance sheets. And so again, in wanting to follow all the rules with childcare licensing, and the contracts that we have, we want to make sure that we're using that, for that. Are you okay with that? Okay. I also wanted to touch on attendance because a lot of people will ask, does their child have to come here every day? Do they have to be here? How many hours do they have to do? Your tuition pays for your child's spot in the center, not how many days they attend or don't attend. The problem is that because we are less of a daycare and doing this drop-off babysitting mentality, that we're a learning center. And so our policy says that the children need to arrive and be ready for class start. The 1 and 2-year-old class starts at 9. The 3 and VPK starts at 8:30. That means your child is checked in and actually in their classroom, ready to start their day. And so we want to make sure that they're arriving and that they're ready to go and be in class for attendance. But again, VPK and school readiness require that the parent notify school that their child is not going to attend. So unlike a parent who is just here on regular out-of-pocket pay, you're not really required to tell us your child's not coming. It's helpful as we're setting up activities and counts for the day, but you're not required to. School readiness and VPK require that a parent notify the center within an hour of it opening that your child is not going to be attending that day. That's a safety issue also because school readiness children, also some of them are considered high risk students, and that they need to be verified that they're in school every day. And if they're not, where are they? So attendance is super important. And if you want your child to be a part of a structured environment, you don't want them to miss out. We want them to be here with us every single day, to enjoy the day. We want them to arrive on time. Our classroom starts. We begin welcoming all the students. We do our pledges and our prayer time, and we start our circle time. We certainly don't want a child to feel like they missed out. They like to come in, they like to greet their friends, they want a little playtime before the day starts, and they deserve a personal welcome also. But when you arrive late, and they come in, they're not addressed the same way. That few minutes welcoming and asking how they're doing and what they need doesn't happen. It's come in, quiet, we've already begun. And that does happen sometimes. We're all late here and there. But when it becomes a continuous thing, it becomes very disruptive to what we already have happening. You can imagine that if you have 11 2-year-olds or 11 3-year-olds or even 10 VPK students, you have all of their attention at one time, how much more difficult it is every time the door opens. They obviously want to see who's coming in. They want to welcome them. That child wants welcome also. And now we've lost all of our focus. And so we take that very seriously too. When we start our pledges for the morning, we close the door and you have to wait in the dining room. And that's a respect not only for our pledges, but for the students who did arrive on time. And then we'll welcome you in quietly. So tardy and arrival, super important, should be ready, should your stuff in your cubby. Don't forget that the folders are something that keep the children organized. They help us organize and send things home. But it's your child's first piece of responsibility. We give them to even the 1-year-olds who like to carry their folder in and out as they start to learn that that is their folder. There's a confidence that happens when they're carrying that folder in and out, but they also know that that belongs into their classroom. And as we're sorting papers and newsletters and reports, they easily can go home into the folders. When the folders aren't here and we've sent your child to get their folder and they don't have it, there is a little bit of disappointment on where is my folder today. And that does happen. But there are some students that never come with a folder, and it makes children feel singled out when they don't have their folder to get out of the cubby and to bring it into class and for us to fill for the day. And we also may miss sending something home that we would like to share with you if the folder's not here in class. So being ready, being on time, attending each day, having what we need, wearing our uniform. We allow for the special dress days because we know the uniform can become very taxing after a while to put that same uniform on every day. And so we've come up with these really fabulous special event days, but everything is centered around learning. And we hope that your children are participating in order to get the most out of the program. It's not just about the sports shirt or hat, it's about what and if any of you heard about our hat day the other day, it's something so super simple, a connection from home to school. But we talked about baseball hats and firefighter hats and a chef's hat and a policeman's hat and a construction hat and all kinds of a sun hat, a water hat. There were so many different hats that we learned about, and they enjoyed learning about them too. And so we want to make sure that everybody's participating in small things that are a great piece of learning. Share about that.
So to piggyback off Ms. Sher's folder, so in our preschool setting, we practice developing independence and practicing essential skills, which is a blend of responsibility, engagement, and active participation in both the classroom and school-wide activities. So your child's first piece of independence, it's their folder, and it's to bring it home and to return it back to school. That teaches them accountability while reinforcing their organizational skills. And we also incorporate school-wide events that tie into learning themes, such as coming up soon, our 100th day of school, where they get to dress up as an old person. And in my class, our theme is Legoland, and we happen to have a National Lego Day. So VPK only will be dressing up as a Lego person because that ties into their topic of Florida geography, which is where we're living, what we're learning about. This is where we live. This is the state. It's the Sunshine State. Hurricanes. We have tornadoes. So these activities not only foster social development, but they also encourage creativity and application of what they are learning, which we want to make it fun and exciting and engaging and not boring, not the same thing. We don't want them to go home and not be happy and excited what they learned about how they connected to their home life. So additionally, it could look like the nightly activities sent home, which could be reading logs, just reading with your child, or specific tasks that help reinforce the academic concepts that they were learning in class for that week. These experiences, both inside and outside the classroom, build a strong foundation of skills that will ease the transition to the next classroom while keeping it fun and engaging, and that helps overall your child's experience here with us. We want them to be able to transition to the next room because we already helped them build a foundation of skills already learned prior, and it just keeps going on and on as they age with us.
So yeah, we love our super fun dress days and our events, and so we encourage you to participate in them. We try to make it easy. We try to make it where should not be a costly thing. We don't want you to go out and buy something. If you don't have a hat, make a paper hat. Get some paper plates and let your child be creative and make their own hat. It's really not about what they bring with them. It's more about them participating and feeling like they're part of the group. There's nothing worse than watching a child sit there and watch everybody else talk about their hat and wear their hat, and they don't have a hat. They don't have a red shirt. They don't have silly socks on. And so we try to use things that you can really use at home. And if you are ever in doubt, we have fabulous ideas on how to incorporate that into the school. So thank you, Stephanie. Items brought into the center. We have children that have food allergies. We have children that have animal hair allergies. We have teachers that have allergies. We have environmental allergies. And so, in keeping with health, safety, and nutrition, we are very careful about what we bring into the school, which is why we don't allow any outside items. And so, we've talked about not bringing in bags and blankets, toys, backpacks, things like that, stuffed animals. We're very careful when we ask you to bring in a type of stuffed animal. You'll see that we put them in bags with your child's name to try to keep it contained where it belongs. We don't think about that like it's a big deal until Susie's cubby is next to Michael's cubby, and Michael has a dog, and Susie is highly allergic to dogs, and Michael brought his blanket or his bag from home. You will never figure out why Susie is so sick. Why is Susie so sick? She must get sick at that school all the time. She's always sick when she goes there. But that's because Michael has a dog, and we don't know that that's what's happening. And so we've limited what can be brought into the center to avoid those things. When we have environmental allergies, such as people that are allergic to blueberries, allergic to peanuts, shellfish, we're very careful not to bring anything in, which is why we don't ask you to bring anything in unless it's already on the list. And those things on the list are things that are approved. But we also don't want other children to feel like they don't have something to bring. And so we provide those lists, like I said, when we're having parties and stuff like that. The lists are designed to accommodate everybody. And we want to make sure everybody feels welcome, and we would never want to put anybody at risk. So we want to keep those things out of the center. And part of it is arriving each day, as I said, ready to learn. So if they have to bring, we always suggest leave the toy in the car, say goodbye to it in the car. Don't get all the way to the door and think that that is the time when you get inside to peel this toy or this object away from your child, the blanket, the stuffed animal. Not a good time to do that. Say goodbye to it at the car, leave it in the car, and work your way talking about it. And we're going to see it when we get back, and it'll be here waiting for you. Whether it's a food item or anything like that, that's up to you to accommodate what you say when you take it. But having us take it from them is never a good idea. It really kind of puts pressure on the teacher, and it makes us the bad guy. And it's really not our job to take that object from your child. So we just ask that you leave it. And some people bringing things and leaving them in their cubbies. Cubbies should only have clothing in them in a Ziploc bag and your child's folder and maybe a jacket. A lunchbox if you have a lunchbox, or you have something that's accommodating for that day. Other than that, no other items should be brought in. Again, we don't want to lose anything. Kids like to see what's in other children's cubbies. They take their cubbies out sometimes, and items fall out and get lost. We also can't have poison in there. We've had hand sanitizer, sunblock, perfume. Those things get left in the cubbies, and those are considered poison. And your child will not eat it, but that doesn't mean someone else's child won't. And those cubbies are not behind lock and key. So they're not objects that we should ever bring into the center where someone else could get it. We talk about small things like children collecting mulch and seashells off the playground. We always tell them nature stays outside. One, that helps keep our center clean where we don't have everything being brought inside. But we also, those small objects that fall out of the cubby or fall in the dining room or the walkway, when our 1-year-old goes past there, that little shell is very enticing to pick up and choke on, or the penny that's left in there. And so we just ask that you just don't bring any personal items into the center, and dismiss those at the door before you even come in to make for a smooth transition into the classroom.
And that's not including if the class is doing something for show and tell. So it could be a shape, a color, a number, a letter. That's fine as long as it's in a Ziploc baggie with your child's name on it, because that is a home to school connection where we are putting the two together and they can do real world connections with that. Those moments are fine. Just, cubby, name, Ziploc. That way it's in the safe spot, not lost.
And we're very orderly about it. We go out with the children, we get the objects, we take them out when it's time to take them out. It's a very fun thing to do, but we also want to be safe and we want to make sure that nothing is being contaminated or is dangerous inside the cubbies. So leave those items at home. I do want to touch real quickly on potty training. Some people have asked about potty training or pottying and what happens with that and what's expected of them. So, in order for them to move to the 3 year classroom, they must be potty trained completely. And that doesn't mean that we just tinkle on the potty. That means we can recognize bodily cues, that we can say, I have to use the restroom, or at least use a gesture or motion or sign language if your child uses that, to let us know you have to use the restroom. They need to be able to go into the restroom, sit on the potty or stand up, use the potty, flush the potty, wipe themselves properly, and then wash their hands properly and follow all of the potty training. Some people will say, yes, my child's potty trained, and that is just that their child will sit on the potty and tinkle, but there's no other steps happening before or after that. So that would mean a potty trained and a successful mastery of potty training. We do have some that come in that are 4 and 5 years old, do not know how to wipe themselves. We do not touch them. We do not wipe them. We will provide them with wipes. We will provide them with verbal guidance, reminders, but we do not physically wipe them or touch them. We encourage parents to go in the bathroom and visually show your child how to wipe your bottom. It's really the only way. You can tell them how to do it, but until they see it actually being done and they get a chance to practice that. And we don't want to send them home, unfortunately. Sometimes they have dirty underwear and dirty pants because they're not wiping properly. So we do encourage that. But also the hand washing and the hygiene is important as far as that's concerned. In our 2 year old classroom, we will start to begin potty training when a parent is ready. Sometimes children are not ready, but parents are. And so we try to make that move, and they may need a little extra time with that. So once they move into the VPK classroom, they're sent to the restroom with somebody who's able to guide them, but nobody is in there physically with them doing anything. So you need to make sure that they're completely potty trained by the time they make it into the 3 year old classroom. Right now, that's Miss Shayna's class and then Miss Stephanie's class for VPK. Potty training.
And that also includes, by the time they get to my class, being able to unbutton and zip and pull up and pull down. Sometimes I will help them button because some of the buttons, they are hard or a zipper may get stuck. But overall, in general, those self-help skills that we're learning through all the sessions from each room, being able to unzip and being able to, like Michelle, be able to verbalize and recognize, that all ties in together because I've had instances in the past, unfortunately, where I've had to call parents and they're not happy that they have to leave work and they have to come handle it. So the more we can work on self-help skills and independence and verbalizing needs and wants, the more they will be more successful, not just learning in everyday skills that also relate to everything else.
Before I move on, I definitely want to ask those that are participating if they have any questions that we did not touch on that you've been wondering about, whether it's from vacations or how do I, or what we can do to help you. Is there anything you have on your mind that we can help clarify for you?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Of you will see that things are coming up on Class Dojo as we're heading into the rest of January, but February and March, obviously, we have holidays and events and things happening, so please stay in touch with that. One thing I do want to decipher is Class Dojo versus Bright Wheel. Class Dojo is just our way of sharing events, kind of like a digital newsletter. It's events, it's signups, it's letting you know what's coming up that you could be a part of, that you could participate in. It's celebrating birthdays. It's sharing an inside look at your child's day. But it is actually just kind of our way of keeping things off of Facebook. We do post we do post Instagram, and obviously we want to participate in social media, but we also don't want to blast your children all over social media. And so Class Dojo allows us a safe way to do that. However, a lot of parents are not looking at Class Dojo, and what happens with that is that they don't know what's going on. And so then there's several questions, or we've missed this, or we didn't know, and it'll always be on there. We try to give 2 weeks, if not more, a month out in advance of what is coming up in respect to give people time to plan and to organize, and to share. We want to share your kids' pictures and their excitement. We have a really good time with them every day, and we want to share that joy with you. And we hope that everyone else is enjoying that too. It is not Brightwheel, though. Brightwheel is our messaging connection and our daily report. It is our legal binding way that you're signing in and out. It is what we use for childcare licensing and our monitor each month. It is record keeping. And so Brightwheel is super important to be accurate. I go through it daily, starting in the morning. You'll see that I start posting things onto there. Super important that you're using Brightwheel and that you're using that as a messaging platform. We do get back to you very quickly, but again, sometimes teachers are in class or in an activity, and if it's not an emergency and doesn't require an emergency phone call, go ahead and leave a message on Brightwheel, and someone will get back to you. Sometimes I see it at night and I try to respond if I think it's something that can't wait, that I want to get back to you on. But Brightwheel is where you want to message and where you want to see your child's feed for the day, not Class Dojo. That's actually blocked on there to where we don't even see messages that come into Class Dojo. So Brightwheel is super important. Class Dojo, just a lot of fun.
And with Class Dojo, I am the class mentor, so anytime your child transitions, I'm the one who sets up the room. So it will be me as the main teacher, but I'm not the main teacher. I just set everything up because I know all the ins and out. And I'm very aware that Class Dojo does sometimes change the dates of our events. I have spoken with their tech team, and they're very aware, and they are working on it. That's one of their big things this year, is to fix that glitch, because it is a glitch with both their Android and Apple Macintosh platforms. So hopefully that gets fixed soon. And don't forget, Class Dojo is for those who are involved in your child's learning. So if you're inviting everybody onto Class Dojo, when the teachers go on to see, when we go to your child's profile, we can see the mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa, but we can also see uncle, auntie, godmother, godfather, whoever you invite, their access to see your child and whatever's posted for your child, class and school-wide. So if you can't get any of the Class Dojo events or updates, come see me, and I will sit with you, and we'll try to figure out what's going on and make sure you're getting all the events, you're getting all the posts, and you can see that it's labeled the 3's class, 1's class, BPK, or school-wide.
Perfect. And the last thing that I'll just share is development and assessments. And we are required as an early childhood learning center to document based on the developmental skills, or milestones as they used to call them, for every child in the center. And so as we're doing activities, as we're seeing stuff, we're noting it, we're making notes, we're documenting them in the different milestone areas. At any time, you can pull up Brightwheel development and observations. If you have questions about them, always feel free. Some are continuously being observed. It's not mastered, so we have to keep putting it in because we're seeing it, but it hasn't been mastered. They're working really hard on it. But when children are falling below any of those developmental domains, it is our job and requirement to notify you, let you know where your child is struggling, so that you can make a conscious decision to help, and whether or not you need to reach out and get some outside help, whether it's a tutor, speech therapy, behavioral therapy. There's a ton of free resources available. There's lots of forums. We have shared with you Autism Navigator, Behavior Bites, ELC, Early Steps, Fiddlers. All of these are free resources in order to have your child evaluated. But if you're seeing these red flags in an area, please don't ignore them. We don't. They do hinder the class environment for other children. They also hinder your child's development, and they're never something your child will grow out of. None of them. If your child can't eat by the self-feed by 2 or 3 years old, they'll still be the child at 5 that can't self-feed and is wearing their clothing and spilling their stuff and can't eat properly and can't open up their stuff. They don't just do it because they get older. It's the same thing with hygiene skills and potty training. The 4 and 5-year-old that potty their pants on a regular basis didn't master that skill when they were 2. It's not something they just learn as they get older. Then they're just a 4 or 5 with a developmental challenge. So work on those. Please, please, please reach out to us if you ever have a problem or you ever have a question. Nothing is too big for us. we're super grateful for our parents that work next to us and that are part of our family because we feel like you're part of ours. We love your children and we really just want the best for them. So we hope this information was super helpful. And in the meantime, if you have any other questions that you are unsure about, how do I take a vacation? How do I stop payment on my credit card? How do I add people to my child's profile? Just reach out to us and we'll be glad to answer that for you guys so that you have a smooth year with us here. So appreciate all of you.
Yes, thank you for giving us your Thursday night, and we will see you for Fun Friday.
All right.